The Lizard is my favorite character of all time, and I've always felt that he got the short end of the stick when it came to action figures, or at least the high-end ones. So today I'm going to be looking at almost every single Lizard. There might be like a handful of ones that I might have missed, but these are the ones that I could recollect. Now do keep in mind that this is comic book Lizard, not the Amazing Spider-Man Lizard, the movie design, because that is a fucking sin. Not only is there a lot more merchandise of that asshole than the normal one, but it also would bring me nothing but pain and misery. It's kind of like reviewing all of the Skids figures from Transformers. You're not going to want to include the Revenge of the Fallen one, are you? You're going to want to talk about G1 Skids. It'll make you happier, or more miserable because you realize just how ignored this great character is. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, first up we have the Mego, and for its time I think it's one of the better ones. It's got the cloth, it's got the coat, it's got the pants. The head sculpt looks a little stupid, but I guess that's just how the Lizard is. 6. Lizard from Spider-Man the Animated Series. Gotta say, I think a lot of those figures aged decently well. Some of them are a little off color, some of them look a little weird, but I think they're overall pretty decent for what they are. They look relatively accurate to the show. There are 5 points of articulation. They look pretty good. I've had some experience with some of them, and there are ones that hold up pretty well. Alas, this is not one of them. I appreciate the fact that he's actually green and not turquoise, but the head sculpt looks very off. His lab coat looks terrible. He's scrawny. This is pretty bad. It's probably the worst one we'll take a look at, maybe. 3. There's also this tiny one that's made out of die-cast metal. It's a little better, mostly just because it's smaller and the lab coat looks a little better, but still has that terrible head. I don't really know what went wrong. The animated series and the Todd McFarlane ones are like my favorite designs of the Lizard, so the fact that we don't have that guy yet, and not even in the original line where I can excuse the limited articulation, very disappointing. 4. This Lizard figure, this is the one that's based off of the Todd McFarlane design, which almost everyone likes. I have a very bad experience with this, mostly because I paid $50 for the second release, and it wasn't even complete, but I've already gone over that. I think the figure itself for the time is incredible. The details are great. It looks very much like the Lizard. The articulation's a little rough, but again, this was before Marvel Legends, the Toybiz version that is. And when you consider that, it's pretty much perfect, at least for the time. Nowadays, there's better Lizards you can get, but this one's pretty good. 8. Spider-Man Friends Lizard. This was one of the first toys I've ever had, and I really, really like this guy. This was pretty much the main reason. I think this line is why Lizard and Rhino are like my favorite Spider-Man villains. And while this one looks a little cutesier than I remembered, and I remember him also being a little bit more dark green, this was still one of my favorites as a kid, and he is still very adorable by today's standards. I think honestly, and this is probably going to be sacrilegious for me as someone who grew up with Spider-Man Friends and not Superhero Squad, but I do think those look a little better than this one, but I'm still giving this one like a 7. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. The Shapeshifters. The Shapeshifters is a very, very controversial line. However, most of that is with the transformations, and I gotta say it, while I don't own most of the figures, I did own this one. I'll say why I did in a second. And I have to say, sculpt-wise, this is one of my favorite Lizards ever. The proportions are on point, the head looks pretty good, the colors are nice, his legs are maybe a little long, but you know what? Considering the fact that this is a Transformer, it works. And even his transformation, it's not that bad. Hell, even the articulation's pretty good, at least in the arms. Unfortunately, mine broke. The wrist just broke off all of a sudden. That does break my goddamn heart, but I can always just get another one. This is a really good one, I have to say. For how bad the Shapeshifters tend to be, this one is really good. 9.5 even. This is the Fearsome Foes Marvel Legends Lizard, the first and one of the few only Marvel Legends Lizards that we got. And it's okay. I'm not a particular fan of the colors. I don't know why Lizard has to be so dark in the Marvel Legends line. I know a lot of people say that otherwise it looks cheap, but like, Face-Off Hulk was a vibrant green and purple, yet he's great because of his details. His sculpt is fantastic. The paint applications are great. I don't know why we can't get a lizard that looks like that Face-Off Hulk, at least in the Toybiz era. He's too scrawny. His head sculpt is okay. I never had this one as a kid, but I feel like nostalgia could only carry it so far. I don't hate it or anything, but for a Marvel Legends figure of the lizard, especially a Toybiz one, which I still hold the opinion that Toybiz is better than Hasbro, at least when it comes to innovation and sculpt work with the Marvel Legends line. I mean, this shit was incredible, and it's still a great figure, just not as good as I wanted it to be. 7.5. The Ultimate Lizard is his own thing, and this is the one that I had as a kid. The sculpt work is incredible, and the colors are easily forgivable considering this is a different design of the lizard. I just wish we had a lizard that was the normal lizard that was as good as this one. 9. This one's based off of the MTV version of the lizard, which, not my favorite design. That show looks pretty ugly. I heard it might have been good. I don't know. I think considering how butt ugly that CGI was, this figure does look really good. The colors and the sculpt look fantastic. They took what they could with this and gave it their all. 8. This is the Spider-Man 3 lizard that's based off of the video game, which it's not my favorite design for him, and also we are now in the Hasbro era, so get ready for that. But hey, you know what? It doesn't look so bad. It looks like Godzilla, the legendary Godzilla, might I add, in a lab coat, and hey, someone's gotta be into that. Yeah, me. 7. This is the Superhero Squad version, and I think he is great. Not only does he still look cute like the Spider-Man Friends one, but he also still has a ferocity that I associate with the character. He also looks quite big. I wish his shirt was black instead of white, but hey, who am I to nitpick this beauty? 8. Here's the Spectacular Spider-Man design. I heard this show is really good. I'm more of an animated series kind of guy. I'm not really a fan of the colors. I don't like brown pants lizard. It's kind of like when you put brown pants on Melee Fox. There's something that just feels missing. That being said, I do admire the striking style that Spectacular Spider-Man has, and this figure replicates it very well. It looks cool as hell. 7. And then they also made a smaller one. It's fine. 6. Here we have a... I don't even know what this is. I'm used to the Glenn Webb custom of this guy. I don't know why he looks like this. It's a very strange design. It's not based off of any lizard I know. The sculpt is pretty good. I just don't know what they were thinking. 7. Alright, Sewer Clash Lizard. I just realized this dude does not have any wrist articulation. Does he even have any ankle articulation? Well, that's kind of a shame because other than that, this might be my favorite sculpt for a lizard figure. Sure, he's small because he's for the 3 3/4 inch scale, but hey, at least he goes well with my Star Wars stuff. I don't know what's wrong with his articulation, but other than that, he looks great. He's big, he's muscular, he's got the right colors. I just wish this dude was bigger and had more articulation. 8.5. Then they made a Marvel Selects figure, and I don't know what they were thinking. The color's right, but again, he's kind of scrawny, his legs look kind of shit, and that head sculpt, man, what the fuck were they thinking? This guy just looks like shit. 6. Before we get on to the big ones, here's another small guy. This is the Playskool's one. He kind of looks the most like the animated series rendition of the character. Again, he both looks cute and cool. I do think this guy is pretty cool, but, you know, this is aimed at 3-year-olds, so he can only go so high. 8.5. Here's another stab at a Marvel Legends Spider-Man Lizard. The Build-A-Figure. Often many people say this is their favorite, but I am not one of those people. I think the colors are a little better than the Toybiz one, and hey, he's also pretty huge, that's pretty cool. But everything falls apart with his articulation and his fucking terrible head. He just straight up has a Velociraptor head sculpt. He looks like a dinosaur. And yes, I love dinosaurs, I love reptilians, I love the lizard. But the lizard should not be a muscular velociraptor. He's gonna have a certain style with his head. And this just feels kind of lazy. Like, yeah, let's just give him a dinosaur head. I don't really care for that. Also, if I remember, his legs and ab articulation isn't very good. He's got a posable tail, which I guess is nice. The sculpt doesn't look that great, but I honestly don't care. Kind of a shame if they changed the colors a little bit, gave us a better head, and fleshed out all of the issues with the articulation. This could be the definitive Lizard, but alas, he is not. 7. Here's a Mash-ems figure. This one's not nearly as condescending as like the Superhero Squads or the Spider-Man Friends one, but this is still aimed at kids. This is the smaller Mash-ems line. I think he looks great. Again, he's got the vibrant colors, he looks muscular, and his head sculpt is fun. 8. Alright, now we got our big new Lizard, and this one depresses me because it is so close to being perfect. The head sculpt isn't perfect, it's not completely ideal, but it does look really cool, and the colors are finally right. There's just two things that hold this figure back from me. First off, he's a little too humanoid for my taste. I'm glad you could swap the super old Lizard head out, which I've never been a big fan of that head sculpt. But I wish you could have swapped out the legs and the hands to give us a more gnarly, animalistic looking Lizard, because he's got like the frog toes and kind of the soft hands, and I really don't appreciate that. Not to mention, this dude was basically impossible to find. And now that I'm finally ready to get him, his pricing has now settled into exactly what I expected. I remember for a while he was actually not that bad price-wise, but now, yeah, he's like $60, and I like Lizard, but I'm not doing that. It's kind of a shame that I probably won't have this figure, but hey, I guess it is the best of the Marvel Legends figures so far, but I still just want that perfect Lizard, which unfortunately we don't have yet. 8. Alright, before we wrap things up, let's talk about some brick ones, not Lego, because they've only done Lizard from the movie, No Way Home, and he's not even a big fig, so he doesn't even have that going for him. Seriously, you had 2 great designs for your video game, and you didn't use either of them? No, bootlegs don't count. These are official. So first off, we're actually starting off with Mega Bloks, and this one might surprise you, because this is, by far, the most expensive Lizard that I've talked about. Yeah, even more than Mego, at least I'm pretty sure. It's up there, it's those two. And this one might surprise you, because it's Mega Bloks. But not only is this thing very, very rare, I had to scroll down quite a while just to get a decent photo for this one. But also the cheapest I've ever seen this thing go is $500. $500. No Lizard is worth that much. But if he was more widespreadly available, I think this one would be pretty good. For Mega Bloks Lizard, it's basically what I'd want out of it. He's big, he's bulky, he's bright and green. He's got blue pants instead of purple, but I can forgive that. He's also got a pretty cool head sculpt. This one's a winner. 9. And finally, let's round this off with good old Minimates, my unreliable. This is the one that I had as a kid, the 2009 version, and it's kind of rough. I do kind of like the lab coat piece, but, you know, otherwise that head, it just looks kind of dumb. It looks bad. All I'm saying is, I think Lego Killer Croc pulled it off way better than Minimates Lizard did here. 6. But fret not, because they eventually made a better one, and this one is incredible. I love how they combined the one we just talked about with the legs of the movie version of the character to give us this ultimate version of Curt Connors, and he can also turn into the Lizard. If I didn't have Red Onslaught, I'd say this is my favorite Minimate of all time. Oh, what am I talking about? He still is. He looks cool. He's maybe a little scrawny, but considering the fact that he has to turn into Curt Connors, I think we can forgive that. There's a lot of unique pieces here. It just crosses off all the checks that I want. I hate to say it, but I think this Minimate dude, he might be the best. 9.5. And there you go. That is my small review of every single Lizard toy in existence. Probably not all of them. I'm sure I missed a couple, but I feel like this was a pretty good overall summary. Which one is your favorite? Which one do you think I rated too low? Maybe I rated something a little high. Regardless, all I have to say is, Doggy!